Too often, when people retire, they have an abundance of cash available and they spend it. They buy a new car, give their children money, go on a sea cruise, etc. A few years later, faced with rising expenses, inflation, and a static or decreasing income, they experience financial difficulties. Winston Churchill once said that living too long is one of life's greatest dangers. But why must this be so? Why does retirement income so often not last? When you mature a retirement fund, such as a pension or an RA fund, then you are allowed to take 1/3 of the amount you have in the fund as a lump sum, and the other 2/3 has to be placed into an annuity to provide you with a regular pension income. A living annuity is a popular product in which to invest the 2/3 amount, as in theory it will provide income virtually forever. There are no guarantees, and the monthly income paid out may start decreasing after a stage, but some income will always be available in theory. This is because legislation decrees that you may draw only a certain percentage of the capital. Let's have a look at how this works and discuss how we can possibly get more income for a longer period out of a drawdown annuity like a living annuity. This is the new Drawdown Annuity Calculator screen. If we click on the Costs button at the bottom left, we can set up costs and commissions. I've entered a management fee and an annual dividend, but you can change these default amounts if you wish. If you are dealing with an investment fund that say that their rates of return are all costs and commissions included, then you can enter 0 in all of these fields. You can see the minimum and maximum percentage of capital that can be drawn, and you can change these two default values if changes are announced. When calculating income drawn shown in the amortization table, the program will adjust the income requested using the values on this cost screen. In our example, we show a scenario where our client Joe Bloggs retired and matured his RA. The total amount in the RA is 3 million rand, and Joe can take 1/3 or 1 million as a lump sum, and Joe has elected to place the remaining 2/3 or 2 million rand into a living annuity. The laws surrounding lump sums are complex, but assuming that this is the only lump sum that Joe has taken, then the first 500,000 rand of the 1 million rand lump sum is tax-free, and the remaining 500,000 rand will be taxed as per tiered retirement tax tables. In this 2019 tax year, the tax on the 500,000 rand balance of the lump sum will be 117,000, by the way, but our client will still have 883,000 of the lump sum after tax. Let's examine the balance of 2 million rand invested in the living annuity. Joe Bloggs says that he wants to draw 15,000 rand a month, escalating at 5% per annum to keep pace with inflation, and we say we expect the portfolio to grow at 7.5%. The income drawn from the 2 million placed into the annuity is fully taxable. Joe would like to see what his cash flow looks like over a 30-year term. If we click on the amortization button, please be aware that the figures shown here should in no way whatsoever be construed as any type of quote by any person or company. The amounts shown in these tables are merely illustrative figures that show how living annuities work and how changing various input variables can have a marked difference on the performance of a living annuity in general. There are no guarantees, but the actual values you enter for income required, growth rates, income escalation rates, costs, etc. will obviously make a difference to the performance of the annuity. The user is free to enter whatever values they think are more accurate estimates. We have chosen 7.5% per annum as a growth rate in our example. Some consultants may consider 7.5% a bit optimistic, while others may feel that there may be years where growth rates may exceed 7.5%. However, the point of this calculator is to show that depending on the values you use, you could still be in danger of depleting the capital sooner than anticipated, unless you employ some simple financial planning. We can see our income starting at 15,000 Rand per month in year 1 and increasing every year by the 5% escalation we asked for. After year 8 in our example, our income has reached a stage where the income we require is now 17.5% of the capital. We are now drawing 17.5% of capital that is growing at 7.5%. And if we scroll down further, we can see that the situation gets worse. The annuity will continue to pay out income, but the actual income amount decreases rapidly. Instead of an income that increases every year, our income now decreases every year. What can we do to ensure that we get the money we want for a longer period? Well, Joe Bloggs may decide to take a lump sum of only 500,000 Rand tax-free and invest it somewhere. If the 500,000 Rand investment could cause a tax problem, then maybe he could invest it in unit trusts or perhaps even in his wife's name. Joe could then place 2.5 million into the annuity. The amortization now shows that the required inflation-linked income would be available for 13 years instead of for 8 years. I want you to note that drawing 15,000 Rand a month at 5% per annum increase, our income required in year 6 is 19,144 Rand a month. Remember the 6-year income amount of 19,144 Rand, as we will use it in our next option. Another option for Joe is to take a reduced income from the annuity for the first few years, perhaps supplementing this reduced income with withdrawals from the 500,000 Rand tax-free lump sum amount he invested. Here we see we've elected to take an initial reduced amount of only 5,300 Rand a month, escalating at 5% for the first 5 years, and then draw 19,144 Rand from year 6, escalating at 5%. If we click on the amortization button, we can see that the annuity is giving us the income we asked for and escalating the income for the first 5 years. This means the income we draw is 5% more than we drew the previous year. Drawing less money initially means there is more capital left in the fund, so the capital grows at a higher rate. In year 6, you can see that we are back to drawing the 19,144, which is what we would have required in year 6 if we'd started with an initial 15,000 Rand income a month in year 1. Remember? Scrolling down the screen, we can see that we continued to receive our required inflation-linked income right up until year 18, and that is for an extra 10 years. More than double the period we were looking at initially.